you got to ask yourself, does the way you look and how you perform physically, does it have an impact on how much money you make?
And Chicago personal trainer, boom, Hector pops up. You go on Instagram, Chicago personal trainer, boom, Hector pops up. And I was like, all right, this guy's smart as fuck.
I don't know what had happened, but some violence had broken out and people get shot left and right. And after that, I'm like, no, I can't have my clients over here.
If you can't take care of yourself, how can I trust you in helping me with this one solution?
I brought in my first big celebrity because I paid them. Drake used to talk about her. She was like a stripper and a dancer. Gained me like 3,000 followers.
Once you do it once, like you've got the blueprint.
We only work out of two emotions in life, love or hate. Do you want to look good because you hate yourself? Or do you want to look good because you know this is what you truly deserve?
Welcome to episode 4 of the Seeking Leverage podcast. This is our co-host, Michelle Carrillo.
Hey guys, excited to be here.
And we have our guest here. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Hector Regalado, Michelle's trainer for the last year.
Yes.
I'm appreciated to be here, and I'm just, I'm proud of what you guys are building.
Appreciate that.
The way you guys scale it, but I'm blessed, obviously, to learn a lot from you in these last couple months that we'll end up getting into that you guys don't even know, like how much you've just helped my business in general. But I appreciate y'all for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, we're super excited. Hector was actually my trainer for 12 months. Mm-hmm. So when we moved from Miami to Chicago, I was like, damn, I need a trainer because I don't know how to stay consistent with my fitness goals. And we started searching everywhere. We searched like on TikTok, we searched on Instagram, like you were just like blasting it up.
Yeah, the second we moved here, she literally goes on TikTok. It's cool you use like search on TikTok, and she types in Chicago personal trainer, boom, Hector pops up. You go on Instagram, Chicago personal trainer, boom, Hector pops up. And I was like, all right, this guy's smart as fuck. Like,
so we were,
but the crazy thing is, like, I don't even know how, because I'll put personal trainer, I swear to God, like, because, again, we'll get into it more with marketing and branding, but it's like, all I do is put, like, Chicago as one and then personal trainer as the other.
Yeah.
And then somehow people find me. Like, I know, obviously, there's better strategies, but honestly, like you talk about consistency and just posting is like, well, shit, hopefully you find me.
And I think also you've been posting content for like a while, right?
Yeah, so I've been on Instagram since 2013, but the crazy thing is, like, I'm big on authenticity, so I've never had a strategy. When I ask you about it, I'm just like, well, how do you do it? Like, the content you guys make, I'm like, man, that looks good, that's great. Yeah. I don't put nearly half the time into it as I know probably I should, and I would be farther along.
Well, you put the quantity in.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I never had a strategy. I don't know what worked. I never knew what was going to go viral. Yeah. I just knew, hey, I'm going to post what I do. Hopefully people like it. They gravitate towards it. When they come in, they like it. I have my people talk, and it just works. Like, a strategy that I don't even know. I'm pretty sure there's a strategy behind it, but I never really like looked into it like, hey, okay, this is how you post content. Yeah. This is what it is. I've just never looked into it for real.
Volume negates luck. Like, you just post enough shit, like enough you'll get quote unquote lucky. And I think also your brand has grown quite a bit because of the like caliber of clients that you work with, like growing through their brands. Was that intentional, or did that just kind of happen?
So in the beginning, again, I've been doing this since college. So back in 2011, I played college basketball, high school basketball. That's how I kind of got into sports. So, I got into working out in 2011 because basketball got done and I was already short. I'm already short. So I'm like, I can't get no taller. So I got to get swole.
Got to get stronger.
Right. So that was my only thing. After that, I just started working out for the next couple of years. And then it was 2015. I did my first bodybuilding show, really getting into it. And after that, and did it again in 2017. But in between that time, it was more like, okay, I want to be a trainer. Mm-hmm. I was in college at the time in 2011. I was doing accounting to my senior year and then changed my major and had to stay about like 2.5 more years to finish all the credits, things like that. Yeah. And so and that was at SIUC, so Southern Illinois.
I've been to Carbondale a lot. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You feel me? So I went out there. They call it a party school, but I never really went outside. I honestly just stayed in the gym, and that's how I started my business. I was charging kids $10 a session.
No way.
And I was doing them
college?
Yes, and doing them like two, 3 people at a time. And I used to do it at the reserves. If you've been down there, it's like off-campus apartments. So I was just training people out of there. And again, 2011, obviously, fitness is not as big as it was back then. Yeah. Or it's not as big back then as it is now. Yeah. So, I just had started, and honestly, that's the only thing people know me for, really. Mm-hmm. It's just like, this is what he's been doing for the last 10 to 12 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's how I kind of started it, came all the way back, came back from college, finally home in 2015. Luckily, I found a studio to train in, which I still have, which is on Cermak,
Mode,
Yeah, no, not even. So I got my own studio still.
Oh, okay.
So it's on Cermak and Oakley.
Okay.
But, two and a half years ago, something that happened over there, some violent stuff. I didn't want to get caught looking like somebody who I'm not.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember you telling me that in one of our training sessions. You were kind of walking down the street.
So I don't know what had happened, but some violence had broken out, and I've seen people get shot left and right. And I've been over there for 5 years, since probably 2015. And after that, I'm like, no, I can't have my clients over here. So that's how I actually ended up at Mode, because I know the owner of Mode. He's actually known me since I was like 7. Because my mom was doing bodybuilding. Yeah. And even though I never thought this would be my life to actually like kind of go into.
So you're now at Mode?
Yeah.
Do you still go there sometimes, or?
Yeah, so I have 2 other trainers that's in there, me and the lady that it was hers, and I kind of went over there. Yeah. I go over there from time to time, honestly, just to make sure everything's going well and just to pick up some mail. But other than that, the other 2 trainers and me, we all take care of the rent because it's cheap. It's only $1,000 between the 3 of us. Yeah. And so the crazy thing is like I tell people, I can kind of train out of anywhere and and still make, a big overhead.
Right.
But no, I mean, I like it. It was cool. It's 1,000 square feet. And the crazy thing is, before I actually went to Mode, I had just put in like $25,000 into it. Damn. I did the whole floor. We did it again. I painted. Nice. New mirrors, put TVs in there, actually some decent Wi-Fi, and I just had kind of revamped it because when we started in there, it was nothing but just carpet. Mm-hmm. And so years after years, as my clientele kept getting more money, I'm like, man, let me just invest in this because I didn't need a whole big gym to make the amount of money I wanted to make. So it worked out, and then once that kind of went left, I pivoted and just went to Mo, which obviously a bigger space. It was good for me, and again, like I said, I've known Mo since I was 7, because he's known me because my mom was in bodybuilding.
Oh, the owner of Mode?
Yeah, so I've known the owner of Mode. So that's why I'm one of the only 1 or 2 independent contractors in there, because again, I bring in, I think I've got like around 86, 87 people in there right now. That's signed up through me. So again, I tell people like anywhere I go, they're gonna come with me.
Yeah, because they're following you.
Exactly. So I tell people like wherever I go, I'm never really worried about having a gym to train out of. I'll always be okay. So no, been there for the last 2.5 years, and here I am now.
Nice. Congrats, dude. There's I know a ton of personal trainers that don't crush it because they love fitness, but they don't exactly understand the business side of things as much, and they kind of plateau. But you've really become like the go-to trainer in Chicago, and that's a huge difference from $10 sessions in Carbondale at some apartment complex. So. And I know a little bit about like kind of your life story, your childhood, you growing up a little bit from other podcasts. So what were some limiting beliefs or just different like mental unlocks that have happened from $10 sessions to today?
So starting off, I don't think anybody sets out to be a personal trainer, right? I think anybody who gets into fitness obviously started off playing sports of some kind, and then it doesn't work right. It doesn't work out, and you kind of pivot there. Yeah. I mean, you heard on the podcast, I don't know how I got here, right? All I know is like the habits of who I wanted to be, and I knew it was going to grow. So that's the thing with like me from going to Carbondale, I didn't do anything different, but all I did was I still stuck at it. I ended up learning more stuff, developing new skills from the boxing, which again kind of pivoted when personal training was slow. I was like, okay, cool, let me pick up another skill because I did it when I was younger. And I actually did it because I ended up doing some strength and conditioning with professional boxers. So I was helping them on that. And then I was learning the pad work at the same time from a coach's point of view. And then I finally got those athletes and I just started to work with them, watching YouTube videos. Just again, like I tell people all the time, you not knowing is not enough to not find out, especially this day.
There's solutions like everywhere.
Exactly. So it's for me, it's like not back in when we first started in even the 2000s where it's like, I can Google search anything and go learn and figure out what I want to know. Back then you couldn't. Yeah. So there's no reason not to figure it out just because you don't know. So I just keep learning skills, different things, the mobility stuff I do now, strength and conditioning, regular personal training. So with being a coach, you have to have knowledge in every area from the psychology, the physiology to just understanding exercise science, biomechanics, like things like that. Like it's a lot because a person comes to you for a goal, like, hey, I want to look this way. If I was just in my scope of training, be like, a personal trainer is just meant for 2 things. 1, to make sure you have a good workout, and 2, make sure you don't get hurt. That's in that box. But people don't come to personal trainers just for that, right? Yeah. They're like, hey, I want to look different. Well, then I have to go start looking at nutrition, and then I got to figure out how do I keep somebody consistent? How do I get them motivated when I'm not around? So there's so many parts to it that I don't think people understand enough. Right. Yeah. And then when it comes to the business side, it's me just being consistent, right? And again, me getting higher clientele honestly came from one thing, I think, which was, so this is how I started. I started off. I had most people that I knew from college, like, okay, this is what Hector does. You know, people want to get in shape, work out, great. Let's go to Hector. He did this bodybuilding show. He knows how to do this. Great, cool.
Yep.
I brought in my first big celebrity because I paid them, and it was
Nice.
just, you feel me? And this is before I even knew what I was doing. It really was just off a whim. Again,
That's so smart. Yeah.
I didn't know anything. It was just like this girl, Malaya Michael. Drake used to talk about her. She was like a stripper and a dancer, whatever, right?
Yeah.
She thinks she had 1 million followers on Instagram at the time, and you know, I had one of my best friend who was my assistant at the time. He was like, man, you know, she's in town. Let's try to get her to work out. And I'm sitting here like, you know, maybe I should. But even though a lot of trainers I talk to, they don't want to pay anybody to come in. And I'm sitting here like, well, you're just leaving more room on the table for me to kind of show people the value. And I get it. I get it. It's like a pride thing where it's like, well, I'm not going to pay them to work out. I'm like, you don't get the value that you can potentially get.
It's free marketing.
Exactly. And so this was back in 2018 or 19. She came in. I paid her $750 to come work out for
How'd you reach out to her?
We actually just emailed her, and we emailed her management. Because, again, most people have it on their Instagram, or we find a number to text, or like how I do it now. I just put it on Instagram, like, who has a connect to this person?
I saw Drake was in Chicago, and like it had to be like November, January, and you were posting on your story, you're like, Drake, come through, like I will work, like let's work out.
And so I ended up getting close to Drake. I ended up being at their late night after parties because of a DJ and somebody that knew somebody who I had worked with. So my network is big, and then again, my reputation for being in this game for so long and just being consistent, people are like, okay, I trust it. Yeah. So now they put me in certain rooms. I mean, obviously I wasn't able to get them in. I could have been a little more aggressive with that, but just in the settings that we're in, I don't want to push it too much.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And so going back to me having Malaya Michael, she came in. I only paid her like, hey, just come in for an hour. Yeah. But the good thing is people don't know the value I can bring in that time frame. And so she was like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, you tell me what you want to do. You know, I can kind of do everything under the sun. And so she wanted a box. So I'm like, great, you know, cool, great content. She ended up staying for 2.5 hours.
No, you guys had a great conversation.
A great conversation, just great workout. She loved it. And again, it's something that nobody was offering. People don't even know how to price it right now. When somebody, hey, come work out, because they usually, for maybe a stop through or a walk through in a club, they might charge $10,000, $15,000 for a workout. They'll be like, well, if they do it already, they'll be like, oh, I'll come for free. And once they look at my page, or they'll be like, hey, $1,000 or $2,000. To me, that's still a walkthrough, and I get a whole hour with them rather than 5 minutes of just waving, maybe playing one song, and then they're gone, right? And it's different motivations, obviously, from them in the club to them to work out. They kind of get they get to be with me more, and they just like it, and again, they get a good workout in. So I only paid her. I was paying people like, hey, okay, just post me once. That's all I want, just on your page. She ended up, for that $750, I just asked her for one post. She said, okay. She ended up posting me like 7 or 8 times.
No way.
And so she loved the experience.
Exactly, right? And it gained me like 3,000 followers. And this is when I only had like 1,000 or 2,000 maybe. Nice. And so that one kind of opened me up more to just open the floodgates for everybody else. So anytime that a celebrity is from out of town, I have most of the people here because they know me. Yeah. But anytime that I get a one-off from an artist, an Instagram celebrity, or just anybody of influence, I always reach out to them like, hey, come work out. And if they're on the fence about it, I'm like, how much you want? Yeah. Because I have the money to pay. I have the space. They like it, and I have the value. And then most of the time, I know somebody that knows them. So again, if you were Michelle's friend, I'd be, hey, Gary, can you get Michelle? It would require you to see if we have a good relationship to say, hey, does she want to come in the gym? Yeah. So I'm big on networks, and I'm big on relationships. And I think that's the only way I've survived this game for so long. And still kind of, like, again, at the top of the top is how you treat people, your character, and then how you move with your business.
Do you feel like you had like the type of confidence to be like, I will pay you to come in my gym, like I know you're gonna have a good experience just like from the get-go, or like did you build that confidence in college through playing sports?
So I think at the time, because I was already at home, I had done boxing and people were reaching out so much, I'm just like, I think if this is what she wants, I'm willing to do it. It was a little tricky, but then again, I think it's when you go from that limiting beliefs you talk about, it's like, man, if I can only make $10,000 a month, or if I can only make $20,000, then you crush it, and then, man, now
it breaks every other belief.
Exactly. Now $20,000 is like, oh, that's a low month for me, right?
That's it.
You feel like, damn, that's a bad month for me. So that's how I think it was, where it was like at that time I finally broken like $10,000 a month, and I'm sitting here like, oh no, I got the money to spend. Where it's like limited beliefs. Like, man, do I want to spend $750 on it?
Yeah.
Now it's just like I don't. Depending on who it is, it's just like to me it has to make sense. Where it's like, is that person that important, or me developing a relationship, or me just having a kickback, or it's like if they see me on that person's page, what it is. Because the most thing I paid probably somebody was like $2,000.
Yeah.
And I mean, it ended up working out, but they ended up loving it, and they didn't even want to come at first because they were either hungover. Because most of the time, people come here to party, and I'm asking them the next morning, "Hey, come work out." But that's why I talk to their manager, because that's why I'm willing to pay. Because I'm sitting there like, if they're gonna do it for free, they might be on the fence about it. But once you add money involved, again, your time is precious. I value that, and at the same time, I know what my skill set is, and I can help you. Like, I paid this one girl, she came in, but she was hurt, and her people reached out like, I don't know if she's gonna do it. She's like, her back hurt. She did something to it. I'm like, she'll be fine. I know how to fix it. And they looked at me like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah.
The mobility.
Yes, and like this is literally what I do. And but again, they're skeptical. They're skeptical. They don't know.
Yeah,
but then
know
somebody end up having to vouch for me like, no, he's gonna do it. And so they finally came in, and I had paid her $1,000.
Yeah.
And I paid her $1,000 to fix her. She was like, what the fuck? She brought in a doctor.
She's like, you paid me and you solved my problem too.
And that's the thing where people don't understand. In the long end, when she comes back to Chicago, she'll always come work out with me. If I hit her up on Instagram, hey, do you know this person? So I always think, like, again, 5-10 years down the line, what can this relationship do? And again, when you feel like you have an abundant amount of money, or you'll make it back in, if not then in the long run, you kind of don't worry too much about spending it.
Yeah, because you have a track record of, I took this financial risk and it paid off. But if you don't have that background, the first time you do it, you're like, fuck. Like, it's so crazy you say that, and that's how it happened, because I used to flip shoes. Okay. That was like my first thing that like actually somewhat worked, and I was making a couple grand a month. And I was a broke-ass college kid, and one of my friends had a pair of these not Chicago Off-Whites, the Strawberry Coughs.
Okay.
So they were a Nike SB Dunk shoe, and they got discontinued because it was the weed strain Strawberry Cough, like coughing, and Nike's like, no, we don't want to be affiliated with like weed like this. And I got my hands on them and bought the shoe, and I knew no one who would buy shoes, and I bought them for like $2,700. Like, they were expensive fucking shoes. It was like all the money I had to my name. And I was like, oh fuck, who's gonna buy these for like $4,000? Because I'm obviously gonna make money. So I put on my story, I'm like, if anyone knows anyone who can connect me with this shoe and you repost it on your story, I'll give you $100. Bunch of broke ass college kids on my page. I got like 500, 600 sneakerheads that followed me, and this was a really exclusive shoe. And they're like, how'd you get that? So I thought they thought I was this like massive reseller guy. And they're like, give me the chunky dunks, give me these Off-White Jordans. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm Googling, like, what is this? And that, like, blew up everything, was that $100 for a repost. So it's crazy.
And
how much you sell them for?
$4K.
Yeah, see, that's good.
I had a Snapchat story. I have it somewhere in there. I showed Garrett like a month ago, but it was literally like, I walked into his living room. It's shoe. Like, I was like, damn, this man, a business owner out here. Something I want to talk about. You were saying, like, you thought about it. Should I pay her $750? He's over here, like, I posted, what was it, $100 for, like, a shout out?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's, like, especially in the beginning stages of, like, running a business or, like, trying to, like, level up, like, people get opportunities of, like, here's the route we've been taking. Do I want to go this route that could reap, like, the things that we wanted to reap? What was that, like, split decision for you? And I mean, I could talk about it too and you, but, like, the split moment between, do I do this thing that I haven't done that I think I will succeed from, or do I not do that because I haven't seen people do it?
It's more like, what do you have to lose? Like, it's $750. So in my head, at that time, that's like 1 or 2 clients. So that's how I had to make it make sense. Where I'm sitting there, it's just like, okay, if I spend $750, am I gonna lose, everything? Am I gonna lose my house or whatever? If I'm not gonna be able to pay rent, things like that. And so it was like, what else am I gonna do with $750? We value where we spend our money. So I'm sitting there like, and the biggest thing I always bet on is myself. Like, I will put money into me more than anybody else. And again, I still try to spend about, like, now currently, like, at least $10K a year on education. Yeah. Because I just literally just bought another $500 coaching program that just about mindset and how to coach other people. I'm like, I will spend money on myself to develop, again, to be able to bridge that gap from good to great, like Will Smith said. But it's just like, again, I don't like to bet on things that are not sure, but I always bet on myself, and I always feel like I am a sure thing. And again, at the time, $750, because I was making that money, that 10 G's. I'm like, man, okay, let's ride this wave.
Yeah, you saw you do it once. One thing that one of my mentors gave me, or maybe it was someone online, but basically they said, like, once you do it once, like you've got the blueprints. Like you could lose the $10,000 tomorrow. You could literally get zero in your bank account. It's like you already learned the blueprint. For me, I talk about this story a lot on the podcast and like to our friends, but like my story was, I think where he started a lot, younger before me, but my story I think really started when I moved to Miami because I didn't have shit to my name. Like I was
Big
like
risk.
a host at Biaggi's in Bloomington. Like they were paying me $150 every 2 weeks. I was door dashing on my free time. I was trying to do the network marketing thing. I was not succeeding with that. So like I was like, let me get out a credit card for $2,500 and let me move to Miami with Garrett. And it is one of those things where it's like you honestly do have to bet on yourself because it's like if you don't bet on yourself, like you're always gonna get the bad piece of the pie because everyone's always trying to like bet on themselves. Like what's gonna help me move forward. So I love that. Thanks for sharing.
No, and that's the thing where it's like, that's what I'm saying. That's a big risk. Me, I stayed home. Once I got back from college in 2015, I was 25. I think I stayed home until I was 29.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to go anywhere. And again, the only reason I'm able to do that, because it was just me and my mom. Obviously, like a lot of Hispanic households, it'd be like 7-8 people in there.
Yeah.
I think honestly, that would have probably tried to push me to get out.
Did.
You feel me? That's what I'm saying. When it's too many people, it's like, no, I got to get my own space. But honestly, it was just me and my mom. And because I was still... How I work now is how I worked back then. It was just like now it's just obviously I have a little more freedom.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be in the gym all day, or I'm here to serve, and my purpose in life, and I think everybody's life is to serve in general. So I was at the gym, and in between breaks, instead of going back home, I would damn near sleep on the floor just a little bit until my client came in. Cool. So I was never home. So there was never a reason for me to get my own place. I wasn't making content. I wasn't doing anything. I literally was just, again, building the brand of like Hector's consistent. Hector's going to show up. Again, out of the whole year, you couldn't name more than 5 times I really took off, right?
Yeah.
Like again, I want to be here in a world where everybody wants to feel like they need freedom from home. And I'm sitting there like, for my profession, you have to be there.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely,
and that's the thing where it's like a lot of young people coming up to trying to, I don't think they want to be a personal trainer, right? Like everybody's trying to go online fitness, and that's great because again, I wouldn't say their goal isn't people, but it's to them, it's more money. And it's true, right? You have a broader spectrum of like how many people you can reach. But at the end of the day, because I've had that evidence of like, I know what these relationships bring in person, I think in my head, you can't mimic that online.
Yeah.
You feel me? So it's like having these certain conversations with people and not just giving, I can get them results and that's a business. But at the same time, I think my business is a very emotional business, right? You pay for a feeling. I want to look good. Therefore, I want to feel good about myself. And then I want to be able to flaunt that. And sometimes it's not rooted in just, hey, here's the plan. Like, again, I can give the person the perfect plan, but it doesn't mean they're going to follow through with it depending on their commitment level to themselves. So I'm sitting here like, regardless of how this whole industry goes, I always have a job because life right now is just about how to be more convenient, which makes more people lazy, which makes them, pick bad food choices, which again gets them to not look the way they want. Well, here I am, I'm still here. So at the end of the day, I know I made this slogan like all roads lead back to heck, being funny, but it's just like, no, people are still going to have to come see me because you can't outsource this.
Yeah.
It is you. You feel me? You can't do it.
That's the challenge, at least for me, I'll be honest. Like, as I started making more money, it's like you can kind of pay for inconveniences to not exist in your life, but you can't outsource working out and eating right. Like, you have to fucking do it and make the time to do it. And if you don't do it, like, you will get fatter. Like, and there's no way around it.
Exactly. Now, again, you can pay for the trainer, you can pay for the food service, but at the same time, you still got to go downstairs to that gym. You still got to eat the food. You still got to make the choice to not eat the bad food. Again, you have to choose it every day until you get that desired outcome you want.
Yeah.
And so that's why people, again, but I think we need a coach in every area of our life, regardless of it.
Yeah.
So now it's like, again, people are like, well, you pay for accountability. Well, yeah, no shit. I have to, because in every other part of my life, you need it, and it helps you get towards your goal. So it's like, okay, I spend, $5,000-$10,000, but it's got me this result. And again, even though I don't need them, people don't need me at the capacity they think, but they need the accountability at the capacity they know they need. So that's the difference.
I've had multiple personal trainers, and if personal training was just like eat green shit, get off the couch, like no one would pay personal trainers. It's like half of it, at least for me, is like damn near a babysitter. It's just like accountability. It's like if someone's at the gym waiting on me to be here at this time and I'm not there, I'm a piece of shit. So it's like I have to be there. You know what I mean? I have to be there because I'm inconveniencing someone. It's like that's an aspect to just get me there. But then still, if I'm there, I run a business, we have employees and shit, I get a couple texts. I'm like, ah, fuck it, I'm just gonna leave.
Right.
So it's like, no, like we're getting this shit done. We're doing a workout this way with this form. It just makes me turn up the notch. And I think you're really good at realizing that it's not just show up, go through the motions, get out of here. Like the mindset aspect, like everything outside of just being in that gym, like you do really well.
I appreciate it. And that's honestly, because I've been going to therapy since I've been like 25. So me understanding and try to master self is like, I know where people are emotionally, mentally.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, I deal with real life people, not just all the time, like, I wouldn't say big celebrities, but like big athletes. It's different. Like if you're a professional athlete, you have no time to like chill. This is my profession. This is how I make money. The most people I work with, this is just a part of their life where it's like, hey, you're going to have to do this day in, day out, but nobody's expecting you to, you know, have this certain outcome. You got to score this many points, or you got to have this many goals or this many touchdowns. Like it's not based on your review. Your business is how you're based on your review of yourself. My job is just to make sure your mental health and that your physical health is able to sustain as you grow your business. So again, but a lot of people don't think about it like that. It's just like, let me kill you in the gym. I'm like, no, it's not needed.
It's like the little habits.
And then again, it's just like, how do we figure out, how do I get you to change those habits, right? How do I get you to think? And then that's the people don't understand. I'm sitting there like, you just keep trying to make them do deadlifts and squats. It's like, cool, that's great for right there. But I tell people, I see you, 2 hours out of 168 hours in a week?
Yeah.
That does the real work.
You can show up.
The real work does not happen in those 2 hours. Yes and no. Like the physical actual work doesn't happen in those. It's like more of the conversations that happen that need to, for the 166 hours, I need you to stay disciplined. Then come in, check in, go back home. Come in, check in, go back home. It's just, again, I always correlate it to school, right? They give us the class, the lectures, and then we got to go home. If we don't do the homework, we're not going to pass. So that's how I kind of correlate it.
I feel like there is like a difference between, like there's obviously the athletes and then there's the normal person that's going about their life trying to level up. Both people are growing, but I feel like an athlete, you just like mentally have to be so strong and disciplined because it plays into like the actual thing. You said that you work with both like big athletes, celebrities, and then also like just regular people with like 9-to-5 jobs.
Yep.
Have you seen any qualities of those like athletes or celebrities that you feel like has got them to like where they're at right now in their lives?
Yeah, biggest thing to me is obviously consistency.
Yeah.
But it's just the level at which they do it, right? So my professional athletes, it's more of like, especially for my boxers, we have like this 6 to 8 week time where it's like he's gonna fight. So these next 6 8 weeks we go crazy, right? And when he's not fighting, we just keep him in shape, or keep him close enough in shape to when he has to fight. That's when we'll turn it up, right? So that's my professional athletes. And then maybe when it comes to my basketball players, I mostly have them in the off season, right? So I just fix things where I don't have like a time frame right now. My job is just one, to keep them healthy. And we work on more mobility in that time. So it's like, let me figure out what's wrong with them and just keep trying to rehab them or make them stronger in areas where they lack. Now, the regular day person still has consistency, but it's, again, how much or how important or how much do they value this part of their life, right? Like, again, I got Jamal King, who's the 9-to-5 millionaire, big real estate guy. And, again, that's kind of like my mentor. But he works out every day. But it's the thing of, his 5 pillars are family, faith, finance, freedom, and fitness, which means he does that every day. So the workout, he'll come see me 5 times a week, and then he'll still work out Saturday and Sunday, or even do 2 a days, because that's just a part of his life. Again, I don't have to do much with him because that's just what he does. But then there's a person where it's like, man, I don't even really take my fitness seriously. And it's not because they don't want to. It's just, one, they don't feel like they have the time to. But then again, it's the value where it's like, you got to ask yourself, does the way you look and how you perform physically, does it have an impact on how much money you make, right? Or does it have an impact on your mental health? Like, I have clients, the regular clients, like, man, I didn't know I was going to feel this good, or I didn't know my depression and anxiety was going to go down, or I didn't know I was going to perform this much better at work. But they don't look at it like that. And again, I don't think it's their job. Their job is, hey, let me get healthy. And my job is like, okay, it's not just physically, right? It's mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. It's like, one, what do you believe in? And I have to kind of make it correlate to their financial goals or whatever their financial career is. Like, oh, well, I'm guaranteed if you look like this, you do your marketing and everything goes up, that's maybe another 10% revenue in your company just by the way you look and people seeing you change yourself. And again, it gives you more credibility because, again, you guys obviously know how important it is to look good and to people to spend money with you. Nobody really wants to spend money with people who just don't look good or just don't look healthy.
Yeah, it looks like if you can't take care of yourself, how can I trust you in helping me with this one solution?
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. I read this book. I don't know. Have you read the book, like, Winning? Garrett, you've read it, right? Winning by Tim Grover.
So I read Relentless. I don't think I read Winning.
Yeah.
Is that the second book or the first book?
Yeah, so Relentless is the first one.
Yeah, I didn't,
You'd like the second one. The second one's it's Winning by Tim Grover, and he talks a lot about he was working really closely with Kobe Bryant, and he got to like see the behind the scenes of like how is this man so great, and it literally, I mean, it came down to like discipline and tunnel vision. But he also in the book talks a lot about like to get to success, like you're always battling, like understanding like it's not just like you win here, dopamine here, like all these like when you think about winning, it's like all these positive things. When you think about achieving like the body, it's like you just look at the body, but it's like a lot of times it's like you have to keep going back and forth between like it's never over. Like you're always starting from scratch. And I think that was something that I learned by like working out with you. It was like it would be July, like first month, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good. And then it's like January, I'm like, oh shit, like we're still going. I'm still feeling like I gotta like push through. And I do think like the habits come with like longevity, because like you're not going to get those results overnight, especially like mentally. Like I think for me, like the hardest part to level up even in like business, like it's always been like the mental aspect of like I know what to do, my body can do it, but it's like training your brain to like do the thing. For you just always been like that, or was there like a shift in your life where there was a moment where you decided like I want to level the fuck up?
So I think honestly I've always been this way, because I cannot, again, I tell people I don't know how I got here. Like all I know was the habits that got me here. But again, even if I take it back with you, like you signed up for a year, right? Out the gate, didn't know me. We didn't even have a conversation. But
we gotta talk about that.
Exactly. But that's the level of commitment that people need. And I tell people all your goals are achievable. It's just, is it possible in a time frame that you want? And I have to get them to go from, I want to look like this in 3 months. And I'm sitting there like, it might take you 2 to 3 years. Yeah. But I have to switch that mindset to be like, again, I feel good the first month, or I feel good the second month. Yeah. Life is going to happen. Yeah. And I'm very reasonable to understand that, hey, look, not every month is going to look the same, but not every year is going to look the same. Because again, it depends on like, say you guys scale this to $1 million a month. Okay, cool. Now how much more responsibility you have now? What do you do with your fitness when you're making more money, or when life changes and things hit you? It's just like, okay, this part of your life, again, is never ending. You have to work out. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I tell people that even 20s and 30s, like, you give me 2 or 3 years of your best physical health. Now, from then on, you just coast. Yeah. Where it's like people really don't do it, especially after, you get done with high school and college. You're not playing sports anymore, and you're not moving as much, because now we focus on how do I live, right? In society, I need to make money. And then people put their health on the back end and don't realize it until it's too late. And now they got to come back to me. It's like, okay, cool, I'm ready to work out. But that's fine, because you took those 2 or 3 years to have the money to even save, to spend with me, to set your life up, maybe to set your family up. So I get why people get like that, because again, we need to survive first and foremost, right? And then we have to kind of, again, I don't like the word balance, because we have to be great. We have to win at every part of life. Like, again, your business doesn't mean anything if it gets in between your guys' marriage, right?
Absolutely,
that, you feel me? So that's why it's hard, where it's like, it's money, 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 money. But again, no. Again, you guys set a time for your relationship. Like, look, these are the hours I got to put in. But I tell people, like, 100% looks different across the board, right? Like 100% of my faith might be just me reading the Bible for an hour, me praying for an hour, right? Fitness is, okay, cool. I'm going to make sure I eat right throughout the day, but also I'm going to spend an hour or 2 at the gym. My business might take 6 to 8 hours. That's 100%. My family, your guys' relationship. Okay, we make sure these nights, or we go out, or we have these conversations, things like that. So it's like, people think it's just like, okay, 100% split up. And I talked about this at the Wealth Summit last weekend, but it's not. It's given 100% to everything, but the time is just different. It's like, again, just because you spend 2 hours with each other a day because you're busy doesn't mean you give that 40%. No, you still give that part of my relationship 100%. The same way I just spent 6 hours giving 100% to my business. So I think people think there's areas you can slack off, and there's not. Because again, what you don't work at is what you do not maintain. So again, 3 things I learned. I don't know if you guys ever watched Stutz on Netflix. It's Jonah Hill has a documentary with his therapist.
I've seen that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
And I love it, right? Good. And the 3 things he said we'll never get rid of is pain is always going to be there, uncertainty, and constant work. And it's that constant work that people got to understand. Like, regardless if you build it to $1 million company, now you have to maintain $1 million company. It's no point to get rich and successful at 25 and then at 45 you lose it all.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's hard because, you know, as a man, I didn't see a lot of examples of a lot of people having success in every area of life, right? We only think as men financial.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
and
that's the only focus.
Exactly. And so after that, it's just like, well, he might have $100 million, but, you know, he's out of shape. Or might have $100 million, but his family life is horrible, you know, or his faith is horrible. And now it's like, I see it as like, no, I need to make sure I'm great across the board. And it doesn't take away from your business. It doesn't take away from your relationship. Yeah. But we're prone and we're programmed to be like, well, if you give your time to your girlfriend, you're taking away from there. I'm like, no, you know how to prioritize and you know what means what to you. You know what you need to value every part. But I think there are still some people out here that focus so much on the money that they lose every part of their life. And I tell people, like, your business never crashes because of your business, right? Your business crashes because of your personal life. Something is going to take a hit. If you didn't do the people work that you need to do, or obviously therapy with yourself, or if you don't understand people at a certain level, your business is bound to crash. But that's not a business thing. That's a personal thing, right? Same thing with, we've seen so many athletes crash. Again, I always use Tiger Woods' example. Tiger Woods never got bad at golf. Yeah. His personal life went to shit, which made him bad at golf. Yeah. So if people don't take care of their personal life, I think their career life and their financial success takes a hit. So that's how I kind of correlate everything, or that's how I look at it, that every part of your life you kind of need to win at.
Definitely.
In order just to call it like a successful life.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, even when we're hiring people, like if I look at their Instagram and they're like going out super frequently, or they're not treating people with respect, or hot take, but like they're heavier, I'm like, you don't care about yourself in every single area of life, and that's going to trickle into your work. And I don't know if that's a risk I'm willing to take.
Exactly. And so. I mean, it's tough. And again, that's why I look at people. It's like, I would rather work with somebody who I know they're striving for greatness for themselves. Their character is good. Like, everything about them is just great. And I trust them over somebody who I know does maybe great business, but I'm like, I don't like the way you live your life.
Absolutely.
Like, again, who I associate myself with is very big. Like, I am very big on community. I'm very, particular about who I bring in and who I keep in that community. Again, that's what helps me build to this day now, where it's like I still got clients I can hit up. I just have great relationships, and I know everybody's going to look out for me when it's time to do so. But again, that's from me serving so much and keep serving. And again, everybody's purpose in life to me is serve. Now it's just the passions that are different for everybody. Like, you have one, I have a different one, you have a different one. So everybody's passion is different, but we're all just trying to serve somebody else.
Yeah. I feel like what you said a little bit earlier, you were talking about like you surround yourself by people that you know are going to make you better, and people that you can add value to, they can add value to you.
Yep.
I feel like that is something that I've heavily like leaned on recently, and like even just like the last 12 months, like I'm like a social butterfly. Like, I like talking to everybody. Garrett knows this. We'll go anywhere. I'm like, we're going to make a bunch of new friends. And I would say over the last year, like something that I heavily learned is like, I kept doing that, and then I'd be like, wait, this person's making me feel bad, or like this person's like draining my energy. And I think what I'm currently learning and going through is like having a balance of that, of like, I want to pour into people, I want to add value to people's lives, and then also it's like peeping like, oh, I think you have some really bad habits that I don't think we should associate together, because you're in a different journey than like I'm in a different journey of where I'm even trying to go to. What are your guys' thoughts on like those experiences that you've had in your lives?
Yeah, I think just being super conscious of who you surround yourself with, because whether you like it or not, even if it's gradual, even if you barely hang out with them or you do just here and there, like shit starts rubbing off on you. Like, we've lived in a different city every year that we've been dating and living together. Yeah. And like naturally, like we pick up certain things from different people, like some that are phenomenal and some that might necessarily not be, whether it's health, whether it's going out, whether it's like money, whether it's whatever. I think just being super conscious of like your information diet, your people diet, your financial diet, like everything kind of pulls together. Like the saying, like, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, is like, it's like the corny thing that everyone says, but it is so ungodly true. And I think every time I've looked at a different level we've hit financially or anything, I mean,
with our
relationship, our other areas too, it's usually been like, oh, I got around these people, I learned some shit from them, and then I applied it, and then like, whoa, there we go.
Yeah, so I only, again, that's me being big in community. Like, I only work in-house with all my people. Like, again, I'm about to close on a building probably next week. My realtor is one of my clients. I appreciate it. My realtor is one of my clients. Thank you. One of my, and then for Jamal, me having a 9-to-5 millionaire, he has a real estate, obviously big portfolio. He came and looked at my building, right? And somebody who's worth over $100 million in real estate coming and look at, like, again, that's why I keep it close. But again, I'm there to serve. Like, he came in with a problem, and it took 4 years for him to finally come in. But I was consistent because he even said on a podcast, he was like, when I first introduced myself to him and I found out who he was on a different podcast, he was like, I didn't see any evidence that I could help him. And he was true. And it was true.
What do you mean by that?
Because at that time I didn't have the mobility aspect and he was already working out. So we were doing the same thing. So again, I tell people I'm no value if I can't find a gap in your life. Like if we do the same thing, we don't add no value to each other. I need to always figure out where, like, again, I went to the Wealth Summit and I talked to a lot of people, but that's because all the subject was money. And so now me coming in, I'm the only health professional, honestly, in there. It was like, okay, let me talk to him because he trains all these people. I need him to get this part of my life right. So I always try to fill a gap. And that's the same thing I did with Jamal, which was, okay, he can work out. He's got big muscles, but I know he has a problem walking. So me learning that mobility, and I kind of mastered it by the time he finally came in 2019, I didn't know it. So it was more like, God putting the right time in the right place where it's like, if I would have had him earlier, I could have probably lost him just because I didn't have anything he needed. But by me understanding that mobility portion and me having that education and knowledge and me mastering that, I was able to help him. And now, again, he took me to the DR, which helped me get another speaking event in Orlando, things like that. But me being connected and me just making sure I serve him, he's brought me around because I fill a gap and I'm providing a service that he needs, but at the same time I have good character. So again, I've been to his house, he takes me everywhere. I just went to Atlanta to the speakers conference to watch him. So it's like me just being able to fill a gap and me just being of service was, again, I think people don't understand that, especially some younger people don't understand. Like, look, you just got to keep giving and pouring into people that you see where they are where you want to be. So hey, just figure out what do they need that you can kind of offer and just help. And again, I get around there and I ask him all the questions. Again, he helped me bring me closer to God, and I do everything that he tells me. He was like, look, read this part of the Bible, read Proverbs first, did it. Secondly, he was like, just make sure you go to church, and I go to the same church he does, and I don't think only missed one service this year. So again, awesome. But it's like I take it seriously, whatever he tells me. And again, anything that he needs, I'm there of service to help him because he's helped me so much. And so I think people got to understand that when it comes to networking. Again, being around certain people is like, okay, cool, I can pour into them, but then again, do they pour into me, or are they 100%. Willing to help me? And then again, when it comes to the bad people, and I don't say bad people who just don't have their stuff together at that moment, you kind of do have to distance yourself because it's just like, I've listened to Eric Thomas a lot growing up. I met him a couple times, and then him and Jamal on the same podcast. My name being brought up around in that room is always, massive, it's a blessing for me. But I've learned that everybody obviously can't come with you no matter how much it is. But then again, it's just like, you just can't get in my way. You can come with me, but the minute that you get in my way of what God has assigned me to do, you gotta go.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
There was a study that this sociologist person ran on people who get the most out of life, whether it be again in whatever area of life, and they found that people who give 80% of the time and take 20% of the time get the most out of everyone. Because if you pour into someone expecting nothing in return, you might not get something out of that one interaction.
Right.
But the 5, 10, 15, 20 people they tell about Hector, about Garrett, about Michelle, they will give to you. And that ripple effect of just reputation and brand and doing people right is a ripple effect that you don't see immediately, but you see long term. And I think people in different phases of life just want to take, and they're very transactional with people. Yeah. And they burn bridges because they focus on taking in the short term. And if you give without expectation, shit just ripples and grows in the long term. And you just have to be willing to give to people without expecting anything back.
Exactly. So, I think that's how I met you, was like Carson, right? He was in the gym. Again, he didn't have to. If I helped him, hey, with an exercise or something, hey, look at my form or something like that. I don't be there oh, you got to pay me for that. I bring in a lot of people of one who who has like some influence or things like that, I'll be like, yeah, you come in for once, like, or I'll offer, hey, come in one time because I know the value that I have. So now I hook them in. I'm like, it's free. I'm not gonna charge you. Like I asked you to come. I don't. You know, it's crazy. I just had somebody. You know, when people DM me, it's like, hey, let me help you with your stuff. The minute you say help me, that means I shouldn't have to pay in my head, right?
Right.
Like, because you're reaching out to me. I'm not reaching out to you. It's like, if I reach out to you for a session, don't expect to pay because I'm literally telling you, hey, just come in for free. I'm not going to be like, hey, come in and pay me $100, $120. Like, I'm not going to do that. So it's like, I tell people, like, when you really want to help, no, you gotta willing to do that for free because you offered it. It's different if I came in there like, hey, how much do you charge? Then that's different. But again, 10, 12 years in, I still give out free one sessions at least and be like, hey, come in. Or if somebody buys 6 months to a year of online training, I'll be like, yeah, come in for one time or a couple times and hey, let me teach you the form. We could take video on it. And again, you're online, you can't be with me all the time, but you spent that much money with me, I'll go ahead and be like, well, yeah, I'll give you 1 or 2 off. I'm not gonna be like, no, you gotta pay for that too. So
can't be like a barista at the coffee shop, a little 30% tip.
and that's the thing. I'm just sitting there like, hey man, like I gotta serve these people. Or it's like, hey, and again, it's not gonna kill me. And it's not that they're taking time away from other clients. Like if I got a free 2-3 hours, like Thursday, I have like 3 or 4 hour gap. I'll sit there and be like, hey, anybody who hasn't trained with me, you know, do you want to? And it's just like, okay, cool. And they might not be able to remember, they might not be able to afford me right then and there, but they'll tell somebody who might be able to afford me, like, man, I just trained with Heck. Like yesterday, I just had somebody come in from Paris.
Damn.
They hit me up on Instagram. She was there visiting her friend. She's like, no, I got to get in the gym with you. And so she hit me up. I was honestly a little worried about it first because she was like, I tell people, like, hey, at least you just got to pay before you come because I just don't want my time wasted.
Right, yeah.
But then again, she's like, man, I have no payments because I guess everything is in French or whatever, and it wasn't working. But then she sent me the picture, like her going to the ATM of money, and I'm like, okay, cool, come on. You know, ended up being great. She's a professor that teaches computer science in Paris, things like that, from the Bahamas, things like that. So I'm just like, great. And she's like, yeah, I was just looking on Instagram, found you. I was in Chicago. I'm like, man, I got to work out. She's looking for a real gym. And she hit me up because I guess she got tired of doing some Pilates, things like that.
Oh, my God.
You feel me? And so she wanted to lift weights. So she found my stuff and she was like, man, I want to come in. But again, that's the power of just being able, one, being consistent, having the people, and then just being good. She was like, no, I get good vibes when I see your stuff. So that's what kind of happened. So it'd be dope seeing things like that from people who are from other countries, things like that. Come in, and when they're in your city, they want to come train with you.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's dope.
It sounds like you've just always kind of had like the star in front of you of like where you're headed and have been like guided towards that. I don't watch his stuff that much anymore, but like I used to watch Bob Proctor. He's like this manifestation guy. He does a lot of like visuals on like frequency, and he basically talks about like, this is where you're at, this is you as a star, and then this is where you want to go, like wherever it is. And he kind of talks about it as like a radio, like you put a radio to something, you're going to get to that like different side of the whatever
the
it is that you're, the different side of the frequency. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about like bridging the gap, like closing the gap. What is the problem that I could solve for this person? How can I add value to this person's life? And I want to bring it back to, for example, like even right now, right? We've done some cool things, and when I first got on this journey, I was really young. Like I was a freshman in college. I was lost. I was like, what am I going to do? And the first step for me was like getting better. Like it was like the mental part of it, because like you can't build the business without the mental aspect of it. You can't get to the fitness goals until you get your like the mental part of it correct. And for me, like one of the things that I've always wanted was I wanted love. Like that's something that's like so important to me, is like how guys want money. I'm like, I want love. Like that to me was like my star.
Okay.
The money is just like a bonus.
Right.
But I was like so toxic. Like I want to say like very toxic.
La
like,
toxica.
La toxica. Like I was that girl, and I was like, I had like a victim mentality. Like I was just like causing problems. And there was a moment in my life where I thought about this person that I wanted, and I was like, that's the person that I want. They're right here. Like if I want to like get this person, like what exactly the same thing that you said, like what are the problems that I would solve? What type of value would I add to their lives? Right. And I went on this journey where I started to read books, I started to listen to podcasts, go on walks. The whole business thing, I think it was more aligned with who is this person that I want to attract, and how much value can I add into their lives? Do you feel like right now in your life, are you working on that?
Well, before I even answer that question, I want to ask you, what was that one thing that made you change it? Besides of like seeing somebody, when was the instance you wanted to change that?
I would probably say like I was in my previous relationship. I was with them for 4 years, and there was like a two-year gap between like when me and him met. And I think I just like I had to like look in the mirror and realize like this person on the other side of the mirror is like not gonna get me to my goals. Like this person right now, like I'm saying I want these type of results, I want this type of love, and I was like I don't deserve that. Like that's just what it is.
Right.
And I think the moment for me, like I started drinking a lot. I literally went to church with my mom because I'm Catholic, and my with Catholicism, you basically can go and like you can tell your secrets to someone and like confess. It's like a confession. And I went to this person because my mom was like, you have to do it, and I was like, I'm just drinking a lot. And he's like, okay, like what does that mean? I'm like, I feel like my parents are disappointed in me. Like I would be disappointed in me if like I was looking at myself. I feel like I'm like not just like the person that I want to become. And it was like a gut feeling, kind of like the guide, like you're being guided to like have realizations. And for me, that was like the first instinct where it was like, I'm 20 years old admitting that I'm drinking too much to a priest. Like I need to get my life together. And I don't know, like I think from there, I just started to like do different things. I started to read books, and like I just remember feeling like shit all the time. Right. And I was like, I'm kind of tired of that. My last relationship, not the 4-year one, but there was one in between. It ended because of my drinking problem. Like I drink and I basically just like, I would just like do like too much. Like I would do too much. We're all like young, ruin friendships because of like that part of my life. Like when I got into that, and I remember being like, I want love, and I want to be with someone that like loves me fully, that's loyal to me, that won't leave me, that'll go through the really hard stuff. But if I want someone like that, like I can't keep doing stuff that are sabotaging all these different areas of my life. And so I think that like it's so minuscule because I don't think I had a drinking problem, but it was like one little tiny area of my life that was affecting every other area of my life, where I was like, I can't do the healthy habits and go on the walks and listen to the podcast and like be this person if like 3 times a week I'm blacked out, drunk, and then trying to like the other 50% of my week I'm trying to be this awesome person. So that was the moment for me. It was just like a bunch of bad experiences that made me realize like I don't want that anymore.
I had something similar. Yeah.
I
mean, I have a super addictive personality, and a lot of people in my family do too, and that gets channeled into something really phenomenal or really not phenomenal. Like I have family in jail, and I have family that are like obsessed with like the planets and telescopes and shit, and they like write books about it, like nerdy motherfuckers. And like for me, it was sports was like my thing. It was like football, basketball, baseball, like play baseball at the highest level that I can in every sport. So nonstop, I'm lifting, I'm running, I'm doing everything I can to be the best I can at sports. And then I graduated, and I'm like, oh fuck, like I could have played at a smaller college, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that shit. So I went to college, and I was like, everyone's partying, like I'm gonna put all my shit into partying, like this is what I'm gonna be obsessive about, I guess. And I started going to raves, and I started doing what people do at raves. Right. And I hit a moment to where, funny enough, I did shrooms with a group of like 10 of my friends. And when I say friends, like not really friends. There were like 3 people that I actually fucked with that were down to earth, great people. And the rest of them were not great people. Right. And I did them, and I had my whole body outlined in green, like, I don't know, like fluorescent lights. And my 2 close friends that were actually down to earth, great people, outlined in green. The other people were outlined in red.
When you took these shrooms?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is why I did a lot.
Okay.
And one of the guys that was outlined in red was like, hey, can you like pass me, I don't know, like a fucking lighter or like something? And I passed it to him, and the second my hand touched his hand, my whole outline turned red. And I freaked the fuck out. And I went into the bathroom, and I just looked in the mirror, and I was like, if you keep hanging around bums, like you're gonna be a fucking bum. Like it is a weekday. Like what are you doing? Like get your shit together. Like fuck all these people, fuck college, like drop out of college, get away from all these people, drop the girl that you're with at the time, just get an apartment by yourself, lock the fuck in. And that's what I did. I dropped out of college. I dropped all of them. I cut everyone off. I cut the girl off. And I just isolated myself for like a year. And just like, I was like, I'm just going to channel everything into making money.
That's what's up. And see, that's what I'm saying. So the only difference with my story, and I tell people all the time, like, in order to be successful at an older age, you have to make less mistakes. I can't even say I had the same college experience because I never really drunk and I never really did drugs because I had those people around me and I had to see them. I didn't have to do it myself. So I made a lot. I didn't have to make mistakes. I seen the people that made them. And that's what I tell people is like, even, you know, my pops went to jail for 25 years. You know, my mom wasn't, you know, nothing like a drug addict or things like that. But again, she wasn't there for me like emotionally, things like that. So I learned from everybody around me what not to do. So that's what, and then basketball kept me kind of like straightforward, like, hey, no drugs, no drinking, things like that. But my biggest turning point was I was dating a girl and she told me, she was like, you're starting to be like your mother. And that's the one person I do not want to be like. But that's what led me to go to therapy. Like, that was the biggest thing. And I tell people all the time, like, I've sent over 50 people to therapy. Like, from my therapist was, again, I was lucky enough that she went to school with me. She was older than me. And so when I was time to search for one, and again, not a lot of men at 25 are searching for one. I luckily to have one in my network already. And I just started going once a week, right? And then mindset changes, perspective changes. Again, what you do changes. So it was things like that where it's like, why am I doing these things? Why am I reactive? Why am I so emotional at this point? And so now it's like I process such at a fast pace. But again, I've been in it for the last, 8-9 years of my life where it's just like what used to take me time to process or I was really reactive. Now I'm sitting there I just sit back. But that was definitely the moment where it's like, I got to get a hang of things, or it's like I got to start thinking differently, moving differently, things like that. And so after that, a book was put on my bed, I'm pretty sure by my mom out of nowhere, and it was called The Thought Diet. They don't even sell the book no more, but that's what helped me kind of understand people on like, okay, why aren't they getting, you know, the results they want in fitness? And again, it's truly just about belief. You know, what I read in the book was like, we only work out of two emotions in life. It's like love or hate. And so even when I talk to people, like I tell them, let's get deep. I'm like, okay, well, why do you want to be here? Oh, I want to look good. Okay, do you want to look right? But then let's go deeper than that. And it's just like, okay, do you want to look good because you hate yourself, or do you want to look good because you know this is what you truly deserve? But I think, again, not true statistics, but in my head from what I've seen, 85 people start off for a vain reason because they just don't like themselves, which is more rooted in hate than it actually is in love. Same thing with me, right? When I started fitness, it's like I want to look good because I didn't get no girls and I was already short and skinny. So I'm like, okay, I can't get taller. Let me get more swole, which to me is like obviously an insecurity where it's like, okay, these women aren't picking me or I'm not getting looked at because I'm skinny. So again, that was the way it started, but now it's differently. It's like, I know this is what my body deserves. I love myself, and this is how I show myself. I love myself by showing up every day. But most people, when they come in that gym and I look around, it's just like, no, they don't like themselves. And it's fine, but it's me getting them to admit it. Like, okay, cool. Let me move this emotional needle from hate to like love. And I can't work it. You can't stay in that hate state. Like, I always ask people, like, do you do better when you get doubted, or do you get better when you actually show the people that you show up for the people that actually believe in you? And that's the biggest thing for me is like, I don't have doubters. If I do, I have haters. I don't see them. I don't understand. I don't notice them at all. But I do have so many people to prove right. And I told one of my guys, you know, he be struggling a lot, and I told him like, there's no expectations for you because you don't even show up for yourself. And I told him like, you know, I don't expect nothing from you. But that's not a good thing. Like, I want to be that person with expectations. I want to be the person people actually rely on, which goes back to your question of, like, who do you want to be, right? As kids, we ask them, what do you want to do? You want to be a baseball player. You want to be a soccer player. You know, I want to be a basketball player. But no, who do you want to be? That's just what you do. It's not who you are, right? And so now I have to start asking people, like, no, okay, what does a baseball player do? A professional, right? What are his habits? Who do you truly want to be? And this is the person that I wake up. And I always tell people it's harder to be me because I have expectations of this is the person Hector is, and I live up to it every day, but I want to. There's some people that don't even want to live up to an expectation, you know, and it's funny. I was just having a conversation earlier, right before I came here. It was like, some people don't want to get famous because it's too much responsibility. But then I'm looking at that like, what does that even mean, right? Of course, the goal is I wouldn't say goal is to be famous. The goal is to be successful, and that kind of what leads to fame. But the problem is too many people have skeletons in their closet, and that's not who they truly are. So now once they put your life in a microscope, if you're that person already, you have nothing to worry about. But because you have too many skeletons in your closet, you kind of hide it, and hopefully people don't figure out, oh, that's who they who they truly are.
Behind the scenes,
exactly. And a lot of people's personal lives aren't kind of I'm not saying they don't have to be perfect, but
Right.
they're scared to like let those things in, and they haven't accepted or healed from things they went through. And it's like, look, we're gonna find out regardless. Especially if you're famous,
Yeah.
we're gonna put your life under a microscope because now this is who you show to be. But now you gotta live up to that. And so for my Instagram, when people meet me, I am who I say I am.
You are.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing that differs, and that's my biggest thing. Why I didn't have a strategy or a brand strategy is like I'm just Hector.
Yeah.
The person that you actually see on Instagram, I need that to be the same person. I don't want to be like, well, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not who I thought I was gonna be,
Right.
and I never wanted to be that. Where it's like I want to be that person that you already have this image of, and actually live up to that without having to try too hard. Like, look, this is just who I am. If you like it, great. If not, cool. I'm just not for you. But I never wanted to have to be somebody or something I wasn't.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of self-awareness and like emotional intelligence to identify what are my flaws and what do I need to work on. And not everyone has that. And like, I mean, not to go back to hiring, but like those are the main things we look for when we hire sales reps. It's like, do you have emotional intelligence and are you self-aware?
But not too many people have it. Even when we get older, it's like, again, I got 40, 50-year-olds that I train. I'm sitting there like, you got to understand, like, you don't have it all together. But and it's a bad thing because I probably do judge them because at what age should you have it, right?
Yeah.
What age should you be self-aware and really be emotional intelligent? Because again, you have no choice. Like when it comes back to value and money, if it costs $80 or $90 a session to go to therapy, it is worth it because in the long run, you will make less mistakes because you're not as reactive and you're not making stupid decisions. And again, it will help you be a lot more self-aware so you know why you do certain things and you can stop yourself from self-sabotaging or being around the wrong people or doing the wrong things. But again, a lot of people don't value it. But again, we'll buy other things that, devices or spend money on things we know we don't need. But I'm like, look, it's $90 in therapy. But again, people don't bet on themselves or they just don't have that perspective when it comes to being emotionally intelligent and being self-aware. Because again, that's the biggest thing where it's like, even when it comes to fitness, we call it kinesthetic awareness. If you can't feel your body, you don't have control of it.
Yeah.
So now it's the same thing. If you can't feel your emotions and sit in them, you don't have control of them. So I'm sitting on here like, how many times have you just been reactive and didn't process, which again leads to lifelong decisions. Like I tell my pops, like he went to jail for 25 years off an emotional decision because his cousin told him something that happened to him, and now you want to go out there instead of thinking like, well, let's fix this. And no, you want to be.
Sit down and reflect and make a decision based off.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how to do this. And now he want to make a reactive decision. You want to go retaliate. Now you lost 25 years of your life. Like you weren't in my life to do nothing.
Yeah.
And it's not that, again, I don't hate him or nothing like that. We're cool to this day. He just got out in 2021. But I'm sitting there like off of a reaction moment, you just lost 25 years, 30 years of life. And that's most people that are in jail right now. It's just because. And then again, it's my job to try to kind of lead people to therapy. Like, hey, man, just this is going to help you in the long run.
Yeah.
And even everybody around me, even, you talk about Trev, like, he's lived with me for the last year, things like that. Like, I put him in therapy. Like, I paid for his therapy. Like, young men who come into mode, trainers, it's like, I think they're sent there for a reason. It's my job to, mentor them because I had a couple of good mentors, but I think I'm a great one to the people that come behind me because I've learned from everybody else. Yeah. I know what mistakes to stay away from, and I know what to take from certain people. Again, Jamal has taught me a lot what to do. A lot of people around me have taught me what not to do. So the combination of the two has kind of led me to this path right now and into becoming the man I am today.
Interesting. I guess for the people watching, and we'll probably have like a few more minutes here, but for the people watching, you had, I think everyone has like one life to where their thoughts happen to them and they're just reactive. And then there's a moment where you become conscious of them and you can zoom out and see your thoughts from a bird's eye view and decide like, does this serve me or not? And that's kind of self-awareness, emotional intelligence. How does someone develop that might not have it?
You have to go to therapy. You have no other choice because again, you can't teach it to yourself because you need somebody to point it out, right? So I give a perfect example. I was going to therapy. I had got into it with this person at Export because so what happened was I got done with my workout, right? And I'm looking at the fridge and I'm trying to figure out what I want to drink, right? Like even a Celsius, I'm looking at it. He was like, he asked me once, do I need help? Like, no, I'm good. The second again, he was like, do you need help? I'm like, no, I'm straight. He was like, well, we got some drinks, they got some BCAAs in them. Do you want to know the benefits of it? And I think it had triggered me to the point where one, I already told you twice no. And the third one's like you're trying to educate me on some shit that I already know. But he doesn't know that I know that and what type of trainer I am. So I'm sitting there. One of my triggers is when people, challenge my knowledge or feel like I'm
insult your intelligence. Yeah,
exactly right. So I'm sitting there snapped and I'm like, stop fucking talking to me. You got your client on the table and you don't even know what the fuck you doing with them. And so, but that's me being reactive in that moment, and I shouldn't have been like that, right? And so, how I grew, which was the second time I was in LA Fitness. And I'm like how mode is like 2 squat racks next to each other. Yeah. I always squat with my head down because I don't need to squat with my head up. I understand what I'm doing, everything. The dude next to me, and I might be 27, 28 at this time, probably like an 18-year-old, maybe a 21-year-old, right next to me is squatting. And after I got done, he had tapped me like, hey, squat with your head up. And so again, I'm sitting there and I got a hoodie on, so you really can't see. And that time I'm like swole, I'm in bodybuilding, you can't see it, nothing. And so I had to catch myself in that moment and say, like, what the fuck are you talking to? Like, I was just like, okay, why? And now he broke down, okay, well, why? Because my homie, he was squatting like that and hurt himself. Great. So now I'm like, okay, let me break down to you why your homie got hurt, right? One, his back wasn't supported, or he just didn't train it enough, right? He didn't understand actually how to squat, use his hips, things like that. Broke it down to him. And then I showed him my Instagram. And like, hey, man, this is what I do, da-da-da-da-da. I still have my hoodie on. He was like, then at the end of it, he's like, man, I want to train with you. But that small, change of just being able to process and sit there and ask why instead of just being reactive and feel like I need to get on your ass because you don't know me and you challenging my knowledge. And I'm sitting there like, that's how I knew I grew. Like, that was the point because I had to catch myself in that moment. And again, now, everything after that is ask people why. Yeah. Like if they're sitting there and like asking me, tell me why. And then once I break down the process of how I understand or break down their process of how they think, now I can kind of move outside of emotion and not have to just think of emotion like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Like, no, okay, break down to me why you feel like that, and I'll break down to you why I feel like this, and we can actually communicate without it being combative and it turning into an argument.
Yeah. I think this is a really good indicator of if you need, maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's a book. Like for me, it was a book. Because I think when you can realize, like step out of your thoughts and be like, oh shit, I've been living my life out of like my reactive thoughts. What if I just sit back and realize like I'm in control of my emotions and like I don't need to like have a lash out. Like I used to lash out so much. And I know I've grown because this actually happened. I don't know. Garrett was in the car. My sisters were in the car. We're driving actually it was like us and then we had like 2 friends in the car. We're driving downtown Chicago. This guy, we're driving on the bridge over here. This guy just starts beeping at me, like beeping so loud, swerving around me. And I just was like, he's having a bad day. And our friends were like, why aren't you like not freaking out? And I'm like, because he's having a bad day. That doesn't mean that I need to lash out on him. That just means that whatever the hell is going on in his life, he can be reactive, but that doesn't mean that I need to be reactive. And so I'm saying, like, if there is someone that's listening and they're like, am I self-aware, am I not self-aware? I'm like, what does your reaction look like when someone cuts you off? What does your reaction look like when someone looks at you wrong? Because if it's not the reaction that's benefiting you, if it's making you even more stressed out, it's like, dude, read a book. I feel like as I got older and became more self-aware, I just became more aware of my thoughts and my emotions, and like the fact that like you don't have to let other people in your life let you react because you can be in control of your thoughts.
You keep power as long as they don't make you feel something that you don't want to feel. And I tell people all the time, like, you can't disrespect me if I don't feel disrespected. You can try to, but I actually have to feel disrespected, and I have to give you that power.
Yeah, you have to like allow the negative energy to affect you for it to even like mentally register that it exists.
Exactly.
I think it's super important. Like I think so positively, and everything around me, I've like created and forged to be super positive around me. So when negative shit happens, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I tell everybody like every day is a good day. We might have bad moments and bad things are gonna happen, but as long as we're alive, we're breathing. It's just again being grateful, being blessed. Like again, I tell you guys, like I'm blessed and grateful to have this opportunity. It's just everything in life you have to be grateful for. And again, we can obviously strive for more, but we still have to be grateful for what we have.
Yeah,
100%.
And that's why the podcast is called Seeking Leverage. Is like if you constantly look for the positive and the the benefit or like what you can grow, what you can learn from out of a situation, then naturally like you're just on the up and up. And I think that concludes episode 4 of the Seeking Leverage podcast. Our first one with a phenomenal fucking guest.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much for hopping on.
No, I appreciate you guys for having me, for sure.
Absolutely. I want to let Hector plug his stuff. So where do people find you?
Right now, the only thing I have, well, mostly I use is Instagram, which is Train with Heck. I got a TikTok, HDC Fitness 13, I think. I got a YouTube. I think it's just Hector the Trainer. I got to do better with that. But yeah, definitely you can find me on Instagram with Train with Heck.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
And if you want to train with Hector, he's in Chicago.
Yes,
he also has an online community, right? An online program as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in the mood to get your life together, get your fitness together, they're all intertwined. Definitely hit him up on Instagram. Are you checking your DMs often, or?
Yeah. No, I control 100% of me. I got to get better at that. And again, what Garrett says, I got to start handing that to other people.
Yeah.
But no, for now, I check everything.
Cool. Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much for hopping on.
Thank you for having me, for sure.